the one who quit the game.
You must have me mistaken for somebody else.
You are a great player. Why do you quit?
In the Boondocks, Season 3, Episode 3, The Red Ball, Huey leads the residents of WoodCrest in a kickball game against a seemingly unbeatable Chinese team, while the game is secretly being funded and rigged by Ed Wuncler and the Chinese mafia. While this episode on the surface is about the playground game of kickball, the themes the writers portray transcend the schoolyard game into something deeper within our society. The intertwining of sports, business, social values, and morality towards the extent people will go to win even for cheap prizes. As I've continued to show, sports orchestrate society's outcomes more than people give it credit for. This specific episode, which has 33 energy, Season 3, Episode 3, debuted on May 16th, 2010, which is one day before the birth of the American stock market, May 17th, 1792. East versus West, business, red ball, money, and wager all equal 27 in the reduction cipher, which structure the symbolic themes of this special Boondocks episode.
My grandfather says to control the ball, I must control myself. But just me and the ball alone is no kickball. Without or the opponent, I'm nothing. We must have the ultimate contest to settle once and for all who is the best.
I admit, I am envious of you. In China, if you lose $20 billion, they shoot you. Here, they give you another $20 billion.
Amusing.
The first thing discussed in the episode was how the American government bailed out the banks in the great 2008 financial crisis. As Long Do jokingly and soberly exclaims how monetary mismanagement by American billionaires largely goes unchecked and unpunished, unlike that of China. Ed Wuncler represents American billionaires equals 137 in Chaldean, while Ed Wuncler, America's billionaires, equals 137 in reduction. 137 is the 33rd prime. Ed Wuncler wasn't so amused, but neither was Long Do, wanting his money. But in typical prideful American gunslinging fashion, Mr. Wuncler raises the stakes and gambles with the lives of his residents in WoodCrest. By any means, gambling, and May 16th all equal 38 in the reduction cipher.
Say, how's your gambling addiction?
Much better. Now.
Combine a high tolerance of risk and a fortified concept of luck, and you get why gambling is a big part of being Asian.
The polarity of these countries leads to volatility, which is needed to make business decisions or offer opportunities of wager. Volatile, stories, and gaming all equal 33 in the reduction cipher, all going back to being Episode 3 in Season 3. USA versus China and Fortune both equal 36 in the reduction cipher. Kickball is a team sport and league game, similar to baseball with ancient roots in the Chinese Kuju. Kickball is popular among youth around the world. It is a staple in PE classes within elementary schools. Kickball is referred to as soccer baseball, Chinese baseball, or football rounders. Soccer and baseball equals 136 in English ordinal, much like May 16th is the 136th day of the year when the episode was released in 2010. And remember how stock market equals 136 in English ordinal as well.
Some things to note in kickball: you can play with 3 outs or go through the whole kicking order depending on how competitive you want the game. The pitcher must roll the ball so there's no bounce. You don't really need strikes, like I said, so keep pitching until the player kicks it. And if the ball is kicked above a certain height on the back wall, it's an automatic home run, or if you're playing outside, just if it's out of the field or however you want to judge that. Last thing is you want to only have one runner on a base at a time. And that's the basics to kickball.
I don't want to be a part of kickball history.
I'm not making a request. I'm prepared to blackmail you with a picture of you wearing Kanye West Venetian sunglasses, nut hugger jeans, and Louis Vuitton driving shoes.
That's Photoshop.
Explain that to media takeout.
I'll risk it.
All right, Huey. I'm not a fan of the truth, but here it is. The Chinese are calling in some debts, and I had to bet everything on this game. My banks, your home, everything. You think I'm bad? Just wait till the Chinese take away all the freedoms you enjoy. Freedom to complain. Freedom to have as many offspring and assault rifles as you like. The freedom to surf the internet for pornography of your choice. Not the porn.
I'll risk it.
What makes Mr. Wuncler's character so great is that it encompasses the role of the billionaires in America so well. With Ed's own mistakes, which ultimately wouldn't cost him much, it puts the lives of many individuals lesser in money and power than him at stake for total destruction. So he uses that to his advantage with fear. Cause a fear and create threats for Pride, and Mr. Wuncler, an elite manipulator, both equal 333 in the English ordinal cipher.
美方声称要经营中国，但不寻求冲突。实际上，美方所谓的竞争，就是全方位的遏制、打压，就是你死我活的零和博弈。如果美方不踩刹车，继续沿着错误的道路狂飙下去，再多的护栏也挡不住脱轨翻车，陷入对抗冲突。
The American and Chinese governments are perpetually always jockeying for the power position in the world. While this episode came out in 2010, 13 years later, in 2023, nothing has changed as both nations continue to nip each other in the bud to gain any sort of edge in the world and over the other. I believe the high-powered Chinese kickball team in the Boondocks is loosely based off the Taiwanese Little League baseball teams in the 60s and 70s, which was largely demonized because the kids were brutalized into slave work-like environments to excel in the Little League sport. Also, many of the participants' ages couldn't be verified, cheating on a grand scale in kids' sports. But as the old saying goes, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
In China, there is this place. I've never seen it, but I know it exists. It is called the Glorious Sports Rehabilitation Center. But really, it's a prison camp for athletes who have shamed their country by losing. My grandfather told me if I disgrace him with failure, he will send me there. I too dream of the day I can walk away from this game forever. I am not as lucky as you, who had that choice, to live in America.
Statistically speaking, winning the Little League World Series is one of the hardest things to do in sports. The Republic of China won this tournament without giving up a single hit. One year, Little League banned every single international team just because they were too good. They went over a decade without losing a single game, and over a 3-decade span, outscored their opponents 661 to 82. They also caused multiple riots during World Series games, government spies and activists to beat each other with baseball bats in the bleachers, multiple police helicopters to be deployed, and multiple, quote, terrorists to be arrested. This all occurred during Little League games and was the result of a cheating system designed by the government solely to use Little League as a propaganda tool to overthrow the communist regime. When asked what it was like to play on the Republic of China, one of their players said, quote, "It was like hell." Another player says their coach threatened to kill them if they lost. A few years later, this coach was sentenced to prison for cheating in Little League. A player was paralyzed due to overtraining, and a few decades later, over half the team was dead from alcohol abuse. These 12-year-olds were the most famous athletes in their home country, but in America, they were accused of being adult midgets hired by their dictator, or booed and abused by American fans until they were caught in an act of cheating so egregious they were forced to stop playing Little League baseball altogether.
After Huey submits to the collective, he goes out and scores a 3-run home run. While looking at the box score, you see 223. Now, 223 is very important because it is a scripture number when it comes to the Matrix. Nearly all the best sports stories have 223 involved. Pride for community equals 224 in English ordinal, but when implementing the rule of Colel, it's very close to 223. Pride of community drives script in national sport, and Huey sacrificed ideals for pride in the community, both equal 223 in reduction. Much like the score, after Huey scores the first 3 points for WoodCrest.
A deal's a deal, Long.
Of course. I am not saddened at my loss. There are not many worthy opponents left, my old friend. What fun would it be if the game were to end for good?
Join my Patreon today for only $5 to receive a monthly esoteric documentary on your favorite sports athletes and events. Real, raw, uncut, and uncensored without the limitations of YouTube. Join today to see the other side of the sports world.